So just to give you an idea of the anatomy of the cerebellum, let's just take a look at the cerebellum, which I've taken off of the rest of the brain. It's so overwhelmed by telencephalon. So here we're looking from the side. We're looking actually from the right side. Here's spinal cord. This is medulla. We're looking at this from the side, from the right side. Here's the spinal cord. Here's the medulla. Here's the pons and the midbrain. This is the cerebellum. And what you notice here, when it's shown like this, is this big wraparound. That is called the peduncle. That is attaching the cerebellum to the pons. And the pons is the only thing that the cerebellum is directly attached to. The peduncle means, I think peduncle means strap, like a pack sack, and it's strapping the cerebellum onto the brainstem. So let's take a look now. This might look a little bit more familiar. Now we're looking at the mid-sagittal view. We're looking at the medial surface. So once again, this is the back. Here's the spinal cord. Here's the medulla. And here's the pons. And up here is the midbrain. This is the cerebellum. So you see this capsule here, this round part at the base of the pons. Well, it's called the base of the pons. And the base of the pons and the cerebellum are married. In animals that have a small base of the pons, there's a small cerebellum. In animals with a big base of the pons, there's a big cerebellum. This and this evolved together. This is the interpreter. This is like thalamus is to cerebral cortex. The base of the pons is to the cerebellar cortex. Things that go into cerebellar cortex are interpreted by the base of the pons. Now when we look at the cerebellum, and now what I've done is I've cut the peduncle, and so this is the bottom of the cerebellum. The brainstem would be here. This happens to be the front. This happens to be the back. It would be a little hard for you to know that. So when we look at the cerebellum, now we're looking at it from the back, and I spread this. You can see that there's, between these very large lobes, there's a central portion, and that central portion is called the vermis. Let's take another view of that. In this brain, it's a little bit easier to see. So this central portion right here is the vermis. And this vermis is responsible for motor learning and coordination of midline movements, such as walking and gait, balance, speech, and it contributes to eye movements as well. Right next to the vermis is a very indistinct area called the paravermis, meaning next to the vermis. There's no real strict boundary here on the lateral side, but this paravermis area is involved in coordinating and motor learning for reaching movements. And then the lateral lobes are more mysterious right now, but they definitely contribute to hand-eye coordination, to eye movements, and to learning new complicated movements. So this is the cerebellum. And finally, let's look at the cut peduncles. Here are the cut peduncles. This is what attaches the cerebellum onto the brainstem. If it weren't for these peduncles, it wouldn't be attached. Another view of these peduncles is shown here. What we've done in this is we've made a cut like that. We've made a cut. It's as though I took the knife and I cut like that. And what you see is this space here, called the fourth ventricle, is right there. This space here is right here. This base of the pons is right here. And the cerebellum is here. The peduncle is this expanse. All of that is the peduncle. That's the thing that attaches the cerebellum and the pons. The remarkable thing about the peduncles is that virtually all the information is going into the cerebellum and a very little bit of information is coming out. It's 40-1. So the cerebellum is making decisions and it's sending its decision out through the output, but the output is greatly outnumbered by the information that it considers in order to make its decisive output.